I usually bid graduates the senior class a farewell with a paraphrasing of the words of Benjamin Mays, who was at one point president of Morehouse College. There is an air of expectancy at the early college at Guilford. It is expected that those who enter here will do well. It is also expected that once students bear the insignia of early college alumni, they will do exceptionally well. We expect nothing less, if I can get it out. But really, this year, there wasn't supposed to be a charge. This was a year of no charge. I'm a part of this class. I am a senior too. And so the thank you very much and all of that applies to me too. So I'd said to Kathy, I'd figured that they've heard enough of me over the past 4 years. This class is probably over the shining star analogy. Shining stars, when it comes to you, no other phrase is fitting. You count among your ranks jugglers and bikers, and you all know the rest, right? You have unpacked our mission umpteen times and can probably recite it verbatim. The mission of the early college at Guilford is to graduate confident, ethically responsible, lifelong learners who are prepared to succeed in higher education and in the changing world beyond. Kathy told me, you know, it won't be quite the same if you don't give a charge, but I told her I'd made up my mind, and that was that. She gave me that knowing look, as she's kind of doing now. And of course, that my own diagnosis revealed that I had a bad case of senioritis. After all, it was just a few short years ago that I too arrived at this school. But now this wasn't any case of senioritis. This was a kind that comes from the thought of being left behind, of becoming a super senior. I found my cure for senioritis rather unexpectedly. It had been a long day. We'd answered calls from families appealing admissions decisions. We had worked on elements of the 5 project teams we've got going on now, and I'd heard, and I had an opportunity to cheer both Kennedy Holt and Peter Butterfield on as they accepted awards from Syngenta. For some strange reason, I drove to the Academy at Lincoln. Yeah, I was really having a bad case of something. So I drove to Lincoln, and I hadn't thought about this. When I put the talent show at Lincoln on my calendar, I hadn't thought twice about the timing of the talent show and the arrival of the admissions notification letters. So I arrived just after intermission, not knowing what would happen next at Lincoln. Shrouded in the darkness of the gymnasium, I found my cure for senioritis. What I heard next forms the crux of my charge to the graduating class. But before I go any further, it's important for me to thank Kathy for saying, you know what you need to do, and just do it. And Bruce, where's Bruce? This one's for you. 525,600 minutes. 525,000 moments so clear. 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year? Well, if any of you have seen Rent, either the movie or the play on Broadway is far better than the movie. But they go on and say, in daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter, in strife. I found myself thinking about the good and the bad of back then. Back then when our school was a new kid on the block. Back then when we were in the basement of the Frank Family Science Center. Before we moved on up to the east side like the Jeffersons and got a deluxe modular classroom building. 525,600 minutes. 525,000 journeys to plan. 525,600 minutes. How do you measure the life of a woman or a man? They go on and they offer some responses in truths that she learned or in times that he cried, in bridges he burned or in the way that she died. I thought some more about back then, before we got big enough to need a standards checklist and having every family come in and sign that standards checklist. Before the SAT results placed us within the top 3 consistently, before the scholarship dollars, before the acclaim for AP Environmental Science and World History performance, before we were the early college at Guilford. when we were sitting around the table over at Starbucks trying to figure out, okay, what name do we need to push out there as our school name? Yeah, back then when we were a program and not a school. Back then, or as Mike Jones would say, back then when they didn't want us, now we hot, they all on us. I reflected on 4 years of change, each time a new family arrived, and each time a student left. Each time a student transferred to another state, and each time a new faculty member felt froggy enough to jump into this community of learners. They go on in the song and they say, it's time now to sing out, though the story never ends. Let's celebrate, remember a year in the life of friends. So how do you measure 4 years at North Carolina's first early college high school? Graduates, I charge you to measure in love. I urge you to move beyond the standardized scores and grade reports and bubble sheets and IQ and college admission status and stats. I want you to move beyond these things that many would use as the primary determinants of who you are. It's important for you to know that you are so much more than all of that. Morgan's right. You're ready. This is your time. All that you've hoped for is yours. It's completely yours. Know that you are rich in love, that you are rich in peace, that you are rich in hope. You are rich indeed. So, there you have it. I've managed to sneak in a charge like you all have been sneaking in stuff with me for the last few days. Beat, I'm going to get you. It's been an amazing ride through the years. 9 days out of 10, we've had a blast. We will not talk about those 10th day experiences today, because those were really bad. Like the time we really did play Frogger going across the street. And some words I said. Because I was concerned about my kids. But anyway, before I close, you're probably wondering if I'm totally cured of my senioritis. I'm not really sure. All I know is Aruba is just what the doctor ordered.